hello, my friends. It is I, your host of this here podcast, the Dork Side of the Ring podcast, your purveyor of all things dorky within the scope of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grumm, and I am happy to be here. If you're listening to this on Patreon, I'm still not 30, but if you're listening to this on the main feed, I am 30. Happy birthday to me. It was this past Friday. It was a great vacation. I already know it was great. But yes, what do we have? I'm recording this like late at night, so I'm so I get done, so I get back on track of being a week ahead, so I'm kind of rushing this. I apologize. I don't know. I don't have much to say new, other than support.grumm.tv. Literally just edited and put up the, well, I should say it'll go up probably tomorrow. It'll probably be available, but tomorrow, it is the, tomorrow being, Monday the 24th. Yeah, I should really not date things. But hey, look, up on the Patreon right now, there you go. Myself, Rob, and Citra talking about the Great American Bash 2000, and not just talking about it, watching it, and, you know, providing like alternate commentary. So it's a lot of good stuff there. Also on there, when you're listening to this on the main feed on the 31st, that I don't know what else is gonna be there. It's a short week this week. I don't know. I got to get a couple things done before this week, before I go on vacation for a little bit. So, getting all that stuff, that's main priority. Today, we've got, after 3 weeks of teasing, unintentionally teasing, Maxironi from the Dopeflix pod and BigWheezy, both members of the Tyler I Am CPF Discord, having them on for a nice chat. We talked about Godzilla versus JBL, and I think we found the wildest origin story on the Dork Side of the Ring from Wheezy. So it's a lot of good fun. And we just talk about, like, it's just bullshit. Like, this is one of the quintessential dork Side episodes, which is we watch a thing and somehow the rabbit hole it leads us down is a lot of fun. So we got that today. Dorkside Ring on Twitter and Instagram. Follow that if you haven't already. Hey, leave a 5-star. I found this out. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Spotify now has ratings. Shout out Fox Tisha's former guest messaging me, letting me know that, hey, there's a rating system there. So that's good to know. Starting so 5-star ratings on Spotify are a thing now. Go ahead, leave a 5-star review, or at least a rating. I don't know if there's a review system yet. I know there's a 5-star system, but you could star the system in the show, which is great. I've never given it a rating, but I'm doing this live. I've given it a 5-star rating, so it's 5 stars. 5-star. I've given my show a 5-star rating. I don't know what that means, but yeah, just give me some more. Apparently, looking at it, more ratings means more ratings, and the information will be displayed. So if you haven't already, Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Apple Podcast, 5-star review or 5-star rating and a review helps us grow. Thank you very much if you have done that so far. If you are aiming to do that, thank you again. And that's it. Thanks for listening to me live, figuring out Spotify having a rating system. So yeah, Wheezy, BigWheezy, Wheezy XL, and Maxironi, Max, Trapperoni. What else you got? What else? Max got a lot of nicknames. An electric content factory of oneself as well. We're talking Godzilla versus JBL here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. Because what I end up doing is I just normally hit record without people knowing. Which is a violation of privacy, but because I'm a good person, I just like instantly delete anything that doesn't get put to the actual
because that's HIPAA.
It's because it's HIPAA. Yeah, it's HIPAA. You know, like I understand. You know, I can't ask for vaccination status of a public figure whose job may be impacted by their status, as well as their, just general well-being. But, that's just me. I also respect privacy. I'm a big HIPAA supporter,
Mm-hmm.
We're all HIPAA guys here.
We're big HIPAA guy. Yes.
But I'm not hippo. I'm pro HIPAA, anti hippo.
I can get on board with that. Hippos are too dangerous.
Too dangerous.
Man, shout out to those hippos in Colombia that have just taken over that Pablo Escobar brought in. Y'all know about that?
No, what?
I read the tweets on that. That was nuts.
So, like, I think I saw it in like the 30 for 30 or something a while back. But yeah, so Pablo Escobar wanted hippos at his house. And hippos are not native to Colombia.
So
he had some imported, and after he was arrested, they couldn't really do anything about the hippos. Like, they shoot them, and they, normal rounds aren't going to kill a hippo. So then the townspeople are just like, you're just torturing these animals. So the government was like, fine, we'll leave them alone. So they proceeded to find their way to like a river system and have been like breeding for the past 30 years. And they don't know how to fix the situation anymore.
You don't. You simply don't. Word to Tirzu.
Hippo.
Yeah. Colombia will be overrun by hippos in maybe another 5 years at the rate. Like, they're so dense that they were just like, look, we're just going to become so dense we can walk underneath water and run underneath water.
Did you know their closest relative is the whale?
Yeah, like Max, I'll send you. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tirzu. It's a YouTube channel where they basically the guy breaks it down like competitive like esports. So like he'll be like, yeah, no, this build is the best build for because it's like, oh, like hippos don't sweat, but they also don't overheat because they have like pseudo sweat glands, and it's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, they have thick hide yet somehow don't overheat, and it's like, none of this makes sense. They're just an anomaly. They're clearly going to overrun us.
So I just Googled this Washington Post article, and the title is Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos are legally people. U.S. court rules. What a wild statement.
See, that's just why, because it's like they're hippos. Like,
yeah. Well, so what's going on right now is Colombia has tried to sterilize them with like a chemical contraceptive, but it's just not doing the job like that they want it to. It's like probably, and like I was saying, they wanted to kill him, but like people were just like, no fucking way. And right now, there's an injunction on like doing anything to him.
It's that's just wild to me, like just from the fact of like of all the things for the U.S. court to step in and like put a stop to, rampant.
Well, no, this is what's funny. Like legal, like everybody agrees that this court order has no effect in Colombia.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Like that's hey, like, do you want to do something about the rampant, rise of white supremacy groups? Like coordinating attacks on non-white people? Nah. Want to do something about people, making it very hard for women to have healthy, like, just living? Nope, don't want to do that. You know what does interest me? These fucking hippos in Colombia. They're people.
People status.
Let us recognize. So this way, obviously it's just some setup to where it's like, well, if they do end up killing them, it's like, well, the Colombian government has turned on its people because we recognize the hippo as people. Let's go in there, destabilize the government, and establish our brand of democracy. We've been waiting, Colombia. We just had to. We waited for we just put our boats in the right egg basket.
Whoa! So the Colombian the Colombian hippos, cocaine hippos, are considered the largest invasive species on the planet.
Yeah,
that's nuts, man.
Yeah, I think Tirzu had they did he was talking about, he's like, they're actually now in like South America and they're fucking shit up there because they're not used, like, there's no natural predator. There's not even natural, like, hippos don't have a natural predator. It's like just their biggest competition is themselves. Like that's it.
I think like their only predator comes from when it's like 8 alligators versus 1 hippo.
And even then, it's a push.
Yeah,
Like
it is a push. I'm still on the hippo.
yeah. I in high school, in physics, around the time Deadliest Warrior was like big. So it's like, oh, like who would win, like a samurai or like a
Roman
gladiator,
foot soldier.
You know, yeah. Like who would win, the IRA? Like I forget the one was. It was like who would win, the IRA, the Irish, like an IRA or like another group that like of like revolutionists and shit like that. And it's just like,
who would win, the IRA or IPA drinkers?
Like it's like, wait, what's going on here? Like, why are we comparing? What is going on? Have we peaked with television? And we have.
Yes,
it was peak television. Yes,
yeah. But
they had the Apaches going against.
It'd be like SEAL Team 6.
Yeah,
yeah. But that's
versus SEAL Team 6. Who wins?
And that's the thing. I miss when they did like the historical figures. They're like Vlad the Impaler versus Abraham Lincoln. It's like, when the fuck was Abraham Lincoln the deadliest warrior? Like what?
Vlad the Impaler is taking Abraham Lincoln to the cleaners. Are you kidding me?
If it's a standard wrestling match, I got my money on Abe Lincoln. But like, you know, a free for all, that's Vlad.
With weapons?
Yeah, if it's a hardcore
you gotta
match,
understand how many men did Abe Lincoln kill?
Directly?
Yeah,
or indirectly?
Like directly. Because like I think Vlad probably got just on his own hands. Probably got like hundreds of bodies.
Yeah, but like indirectly, Abraham Lincoln oversaw like the most American deaths of any war. So
it was like 1.6 million, right?
Yeah, so like that's a lot of dead consciences that lay at the feet of Abraham Lincoln, for better or for worse.
Ooh. I just Googled how many people did Vlad the Impaler kill, and it just says 80,000, like himself.
Yeah, he used to line the road up to his castle with their heads.
Ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, but also, man, that's some sick. Like that's where you're just like, yeah, go ahead, come, try me here because you will literally see everybody I've ever killed.
That's crazy.
Follow the rotting bodies to my castle.
That's why everybody thought he was a vampire, because he literally impaled people.
Yeah, it's almost
you don't get the nickname the Impaler if you don't impale a few people.
You gotta earn that.
That's a tried and true nickname.
It's like, hey man, do you know how to get the Vlads? Yeah, follow the rotting flesh smell. What do you mean?
All those impaled
you go up Main Street about 2 miles, make a left, make an immediate right, and go about a block or two, and then on your left you're gonna see a dead body. Don't be alarmed. That's just like a signifier. Make the left, go up a little bit, you'll see another dead body on your right, make a right, and just follow the dead bodies up to Vlad's house.
You're there. If you get to the beheaded guys, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Yo, I just scrolled through his wiki real quick, and he has like a section just called National Hero.
I mean, he was regarded as a national hero. Like,
yeah.
Some Mark Wahlberg vibes.
Big time.
That's a wild
controversies.
It's a wild, like, rough 10 minutes intro here. I don't know where I'm gonna cut it in, but we're here on the Dork side of the ring. This is the first episode I've recorded since like November, for me. So I'm just enjoying the good conversation with some pals. We've got from the CPFs, BigWheezy.
What's good?
And Maxironi.
Yo, what up?
Hello, my friends. It's good to have you guys. Thanks for
having us.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on.
Look, I messaged both you guys back in November, maybe even towards the end of October, and I just could not fit any more recordings into my schedule. And I was like, well, I know who I'm going to first after the holidays, and I'm like, I'm gonna go after Wheezy XL and Max.
There we go.
Because you gotta have them. So as you guys, I mean, you guys have listened to the pod. I mean, Max, you're a fellow podcaster yourself. You have your stuff. We'll get to your intros, but we have a little rhythm here. We got a routine here. So we start with BigWheezy here. We start with you. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you like. You know, it's like a dating profile, except you're not trying to appease a potential suitor. You're just trying to get in the good graces of my listeners.
Okay. So it's BigWheezy here. Big fan of Photoshops, making some memes. You know, I've been known to throw down a couple heads on a couple of funny photos.
Seen him do it.
Yeah, you don't want to have that happen. Big Jeff Hardy stan. That I'll own it. That's very, very much a pander thing, but also because I had the armbands myself. Very fun time. You know, who themselves hasn't flipped off their bed onto their younger/older brother in their childhood. It's a great time. But yeah, that's basically me. I enjoy some wrestling. Used to watch it with my grandma all the time. Lovely stuff. Love what we do here. It's a good time.
Wow, that's a good intro. Good intro, but it's also like it's a B plus intro because you already jumped ahead to the next question, which is how you get into it. But that's okay. We can delve into it a little further. But Mr. Maxironi, go ahead, give yourself the floor is yours to introduce and ingratiate yourself with the dorks of the dork side of the ring.
What's up, dorks? What's up, Grummunity? It's your boy Max. CPF, close personal friend of Grumm and Wheezy. Host a movie podcast. So if you enjoy my voice or if you think I'm funny throughout any of this, check me out at Dopeflix the Pod on Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Apple, Spotify, and all other podcasting platforms. That's DOPEFLIX, like Netflix, but Dopeflix. Yeah. We talk movies, we talk a little sports, but it's mostly movies and TV talk. We do some movie reviews and some live commentary, as well as talk about movie news and go over upcoming trailers.
Hell yeah. I love me some Dopeflix. It's like, all right, like I forget what it was, but I was like, I haven't seen that yet. What I have done is I've like bookmarked like the ones like, you know, you guys have talked about like some like Eternals and Shang-Li. I'm like, I haven't seen that, I haven't seen Black Widow yet. All right, bookmark that for when I actually go see it. It's similar to like the shows, but I watch it like the for the Marvel shows on Disney Plus.
So good.
They're so good, but it's also you and Mantis, your co-host, just enjoying them and being like, yeah, we enjoy them. This is why we enjoy them. And not necessarily focusing, because I feel like a lot of just in general, a lot of pro wrestling podcasts also do this. It's a lot of like, I don't like this, and here's why, and then it's like a 45-minute diatribe of why you don't like a thing, and then it's like, I did like this though, but under the next match, it's like, well, hey, like we all like this. Like the reason why we. You know, you listen to a movie podcast or a TV podcast or a wrestling or a music or any podcast is because you like a hobby or you have an interest in a hobby. So share that. You know, don't be like, you know, I didn't like the fact that like this person didn't show up in the final episode of this series. It's like,
we like to enjoy it. We like to have fun. Right? That's the main thing.
Right, and that's the most important thing in life is to have that fun. So, Max, what we normally do here, but Wheezy jumped the gun here, is we also after the intros, I ask you what's your background with professional wrestling, what's your experience with it, if you're a fan at all and whatnot. So we'll start with you because we go in reverse order of the intros. Max, what's your experience with the professional wrestling?
So I was a big fan, like a lot of people my age during the Attitude Era. I grew up with, you know, The Rock and Stone Cold. Like I'm a big Stone Cold guy. Broken Skull Ranch. I'm about all that. But yeah, that's kind of my background. Like I spent about 4 or 5 years of my formative years, like just watching, talking about it at school, trying to go to any wrestling matches I could in North Carolina. Big fan of the Hardy Boys because the Hardy Boys are from North Carolina. I actually live about an hour from where they live right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Haven't, as the years went by, I, obviously fell out, but have recently within the past year being, around the CPFs and Grumm, like, and checking out these pay-per-views and Mantis as well. He's a big wrestling fan, and I've watched a couple with him. I mean, especially when they kind of started blending, that nostalgia factor from the Attitude Era with modern and current wrestling. Big fan of that. And now that I realize I can watch stuff on Peacock, I will be watching more wrestling.
You revisit a lot of that stuff that got you hooked on it in the first place. Mm-hmm. Some of it does not age well, but that's really like, going back to it, like TV and movies. That's a lot of media. Like 5 years, there's things from 5 years ago that don't age well, let alone at this point, almost 30 years. It's like, if you think about it, it's over 25 years since like Austin dropped the Austin 316 promo. And
goodness.
That's like I not only was I alive, but I was like going to school when that happened. Like I was a 5-year-old child, about 4, but I was about to be going into like kindergarten, I guess. Or
was
grade.
that I don't know if I know y'all are a little younger than me, but there was a time when like Generation X, X-Pac, and the suck it hand motion, like I was in school. I was in like 5th or 6th grade when that was happening, and bro, that you were public enemy number 1 to the school. Like if you did that shit, that was like the one thing they did not want you doing.
I have told a couple teachers to suck it while aggressively chopping through the air towards my crotch. I definitely flipped the bird in honor of Stone Cold towards some authority figures of my own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because I'm not too much younger. I turned 30 at the end of the month, so by the time this is being aired, it might have already dropped or might not. But I'll be 30 soon. So
you were there.
I was there. I was very much there. I had older uncles who were in high school, during that time, so they took it even another level, like where it's their teen rebellion is to fucking crotch chop and drop each other with Stone Cold Stunners and rock bottoms and shit like that.
Growing up with professional wrestling and Jackass at the same time,
it's dangerous.
Both making you want to do the things. Just, I'm glad I made it out. I'm glad I made it here.
Made it out.
Yeah,
I love that.
A lot of just again, just that time was just it was just society's time to just not care and just do whatever. But yeah, like I don't know, like what about you? Like Wheezy, you were talking about you watched it with your grandma, which is a very a common thing. I feel like it's not often like, oh, I watched it with my parents. It's like, oh, my grandma or my grandpa, and it's always funny because it's the grandma is like, oh, she believed it was real. My grandma, she hated Ric Flair. She thought Ric Flair was the devil, or she thought that Dirty Dick Murdoch was the second coming of Satan, or like my grandma, she threw the Yagos towards Dusty Rhodes at any opportunity she got to, and it's like, why are you telling me this about your grandma?
Well, it's very funny because she was the biggest fan of The Rock, like just lovely, big fan of The Rock. So anytime he was on, she was like, "Oh, here we go," and she'd throw it on. But so like before The Rock. So this is funny enough. My grandpa actually went to the WrestleMania in the Silver Dome.
Oh.
And at that WrestleMania, there was a match. I believe it was Gorgeous George was in a hair versus hair match with Brutus Beefcake. And my grandma hated Gorgeous George because he was a heel.
Yes.
And my grandpa, because he lost the match, so he got his, blonde curls cut. My grandpa, when they swept it out of the ring, swiped one of Gorgeous George's curls from the match, and they still have it.
No way.
Very wild stuff. I was like, I don't know that I'd touch that, but okay. But yeah, so it's very much a lot of that stuff. And I'd go and I'd spend a lot of my formative years because she would babysit me and we'd watch wrestling and goof off. And then she got me a lot of the action figures and stuff. So I had a shit ton of wrestling stuff, just so many. And they got me the belts. So it was a pretty weird anecdote. But so my dad would watch it with me. My grandma would do all this stuff. But they got me the belts, like the replica belts, the little plastic toy ones. Mm-hmm. But my dad was like, well, if you got the belt, you got to defend the title. What are you doing? So I would go and have air quotes matches against my dad and have to defend the world heavyweight title, the big gold belt, And then John Cena got the spinner one and I got that one for Christmas. And my uncle was like, oh, we'll take you down. And I was like, we did like a promo for this, literally like in front of my extended family, like, oh, I'm gonna take you down. And we met at the family reunion and it was me versus him for the spinner belt, and I dressed up like John Cena and came out and did the whole you can't see me, and we were legitimately doing the, because he knew we were phoning it in but he could sell it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And while we're at this family park, open field, there's a road that went by this match and you just see this big jumble of family surrounding us for this belt. And he's got me in the walls of Jericho, not putting the weight on my back or anything, but I'm sitting there and I'm reaching out for the ropes. And this family drives by in a car, not affiliated with us at all. And they're like, hey, get off of that kid. What are you doing? We're going to call the police. And my entire family flooded their car and they're like, it's not what this is. What are you doing? And I still retained the belt because he lost by disqualification. Because the police were called. However, I defended the spinner belt and I'm still the champion to this day. I have no problem with it. But yeah, so a little crazy because I was really, really into it. And I've been to shows and, I love watching all the old Attitude Era stuff. Even the ruthless aggression stuff is just funny to me because it's all the stuff I really grew up with into, high school. So good time.
That sounds like a delightful childhood. That sounds absolutely delightful, man.
Nothing like family-sponsored child fight clubs,
No, man, that sounds like it was an elaborate, long-term thing. That sounds like a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah. I was hitting the figure four, and I do that. You know how Ric Flair does the thing where he holds the leg, but then he struts it out and walks it back, and then puts the figure four? I would do that. That was the funnest part. You'd walk it out and come back, and then I had all the moves down. It was phenomenal.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
See, I knew Wheezy was a wrestling fan, not just from the conversations, but so in the Tyler I Am Discord, there's what is our version of the versus battle. It's the jam contest. 5 songs versus 5 songs. Me and Wheezy, I hold a victory over Wheezy in overtime. It was a hard fought battle. I had to. I had Meg in a glass case. I broke the glass case, dropped some Meg, and it was it. But Wheezy, in an effort to keep up with the fact that I just have streaming gifs of me dancing that I just would use, to react towards other people's contests, made some of his own, which is still one of my favorite ones. The black and white Hulk Hogan, the effort to make this, you're like, no, it's not just that I'm recording this. I'm also going to make this black and white. I'm going to do everything I need to do properly.
The process for those gifts was very fun because I was scheming. I was like, okay, these have to be I can't just make a dancing one and what I want to make content type gifts. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to do the old NWO Hogan strumming the title belt black and white. There was some thought put into that. And I was especially because I'm going against Grumm, I was like, this is
had to
twofold. I have to.
So on your end, you did that. Meanwhile, I'm going, all right, I got to get two shops. I got to get a shop where I win and a shop where I lose. And the shop where I win was like Wheezy from Toy Story. Toy Story 2 specifically, when he gets put, he's like he's up on the top shelf and it's all dusty. And it's just like, sorry, Wheezy, Grumm said you had to stay up here. The other one, and I'll have to find it because it's like buried under on a shit ton of other shops. But was it was basically it was you dancing on my grave, like at the end of Toy Story 2 when Wheezy's singing. I basically put a tombstone that said "Here lies Grumm," and it's Wheezy the penguin dancing on the grave.
I love it.
Because it's like, I'm gonna be a good sport about this. I'm not gonna just make the one. I'm still gonna.
That's good.
It was good stuff. So we got it. So it's good. I get some, good bases. Obviously, the big stuff, the Attitude Era, low ruthless aggression, which Wheezy can kind of tell from the stream itself what the era we're looking at consists of. Maybe not exactly what we're watching, but for some context, growing up, I believe we all were in the age of the American Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it was fine for the time, and then you're like, you really grow up and you really start to watch the other ones, and you're like, this is much better.
I still love that movie.
Oh no, it's a guilty pleasure watch. Absolutely, there's a French cameraman. There's
dude, that guy. Oh, Matthew, we must get the Godzilla.
it's just bad. There's some bad acting. It's a terrible premise. It's every recipe for a bad movie, but that's what you want. Like, it's still somehow watchable. But obviously Godzilla, it's much stronger when it's based in its origins. Thank God for the monster universe that they decided to revamp with the Godzilla. Was that 2014? The one with Bryan Cranston, and then
I think that was like 2014. Then there was like Kong Skull Island in 2016, 17 maybe.
So Max, I know you've watched them because you're a movie buff.
Oh yeah.
Wheezy, have you watched like the newer like Godzilla versus Kong films by any chance?
Did we lose Wheezy?
Yeah, he's muted. I see that now. Max, we'll go with you for right now then.
Yeah.
I'll just make a note to get that out. So what about you, Max? Of the newer Godzilla films, like, is there one that is a cut above the rest?
Okay. So this might not be a popular answer. Kong Skull Island is my favorite.
Okay.
That's not
because you got like a stacked cast in that movie, dude.
Really good.
There's so many people in there, and it was like, it wasn't as about. It was like a solid. The movie is a solid, like, 60, high 60, low 70. It's not like it's like a masterpiece, but it's got solid acting, good story, good cast, like good CGI. Like, Kong's badass in the fighting, and the other ones are awesome, sick movies, but the scale is just totally different. But that's the one I enjoy the most, and most people are surprised by that.
I don't necessarily disagree. Like, not disagree, because obviously it's one. I asked you which one you enjoyed. But I'm not. I should say I'm not surprised, because like, the thing that stuck out with Kong Island for me was, hey, like, Sam Jackson's just basically describing himself. Like, in everything about this is like, everything he's ever said gets turned on his head, where it's like, hey, he's the monster. He's the one who's a threat. Blah blah blah. And it's like,
it was good. Like, it was good unfolding. I liked that.
It's like one of those movies where like the people have the realization. They're like, whoa, we're the bad guys.
Right?
We the baddies.
We the baddies. Yeah.
Wheezy, what about you of the new Godzilla? So from like the Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor, uh, Godzilla, like that King of Monsters, Skull Island, then Kong versus Godzilla. Um, which one of those have you enjoyed the most? If you've seen them all, or which ones have you seen and whatnot?
I will point out for those listening, if you'd like to see the 1998 Godzilla, it has returned to Netflix as of January 1st.
Oh boy,
good news
for those listening at home. Peep it. But I have to agree with Max. I really did enjoy Skull Island. I actually suggested that movie to my dad when I saw it because I thought it was very, I wouldn't say funny. I think it was good because they do like people forget like Tom Hiddleston's in that movie. Like how, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, he was just Loki. And then he's like, I'm going to go kill this gorilla.
Brie Larson's also in it, right?
Yep, John C. Reilly's in it. John
C.
Goodman,
Reilly's
Samuel L. Jackson.
There's a
very big cast.
They just went to the MCU and took people from the MCU.
I honestly, it would have been funny if they put that in the Loki series, and then here I am killing this giant King Kong. And
dude, that would have been good.
And Captain Marvel was there, and you're like, what? Wait, no. But it's. I honestly, I did. I think it was done well. I think what was fun about it to me was that it's like there wasn't really a dead zone. Like if you watch the King Kong with like Jack Black in it, and they have like that big that movie's like 2.5 hours long, and there's such a lull in the middle there.
Yes, yes, dude.
If you fall asleep and wake up, you're still watching King Kong. And it's
I don't think a lot of people have seen that movie, man, because it's just like when it came out, I thought it was great. But you're absolutely right that like for the first 45 minutes is good, and then it's like an hour and a half of just like snooze fest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I think the Skull Island one, it's like it's not a lot of BS with that. Like they're not. I don't think they get too cute with it, and I think it frames it well. And I haven't watched Godzilla versus King Kong mostly because I meant to, and then I just put it off. But
it's back on HBO Max.
Okay. I'll have to put it on, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like movies like that. I get ensemble like movies, like Infinity War, whatever. But I don't know that I really care for movies like that. So I'll give it a chance. But from the list, I honestly think Kong Skull Island, it's worth it. I honestly think it's a really good watch. I think it's a fun watch too because there's a bit of comedy in it, not too much, but it gives you a good story.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed King of Monsters because like the stakes in it just felt like like the first Godzilla of the new series was like, he's going after these unnamed, mutated beings, and okay, like Godzilla's awoken, and they're going at, oh no, if they get to Vegas, they're going to turn into a nuke. And yes, it does have one of the coolest like just shots, which is his tail glowing up and then just utterly eviscerating the Mutu from like just fucking neck down.
There are some really sick shots in that.
But
and
like,
I think the only problem with those movies, and I don't know if you agree, Grumm, is their stories just aren't very cohesive.
No,
they're not very.
The story should always be the A and B story need to be monster related.
Yes,
I don't need
100%.
I don't need family drama. I don't need, as much as like Kong and Godzilla versus Kong had probably the best humor of the series with their human. I don't need all the human stuff. I like in King of Monsters. I liked the kind of the closing of the story from Godzilla. The guy I forget his name, but the Japanese doctor and researcher who was like, yeah, I'll set this thing off. I'll set this bomb off to save to recharge him. It's the least I can do. I like that, but that's a C-level story. Like, even within the scope of the series, that's not even a C. That's like a D or an E. But like yeah, the stories are disconnected at the worst times, where it's just like, no, I would like to see where just show me what Godzilla's crib looks like. Like, does he have a TV? Does he have like can I get MTV cribs with Godzilla and other kaiju? Is that possible?
Show me
I want to
Godzilla
see
in
what
the
they're
club
doing.
with the hose.
Yeah, like, is Godzilla chilling does he got a wifey? You know, does he?
Well, they do show his crib in the one movie.
Yeah,
I need the opening like in Belly, just Godzilla with the radioactive glow, and then walking in, and it's like light blue, and it just shows the whites of his eyes, and he's just walking real slow through the club. That's what I need.
Like, if there's another kaiju universe like movie, I need to see how Kong has redecorated his like world. Like, I need to see what that looks like. I need to see, has he just like created things out of thin air? Because the man created an axe. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous.
No, that was his family's axe. That
Well,
was
yeah.
like his like gorilla family lineage axe.
But like,
dude.
they've got so much there. Like, I just need to see him rebuild it. I want to see him touch up. I want to see if he flips the house.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
like
what's he gonna do with the Middle Earth or whatever it's called?
yeah,
Hollow
like,
Earth.
yeah, like what? Like,
Yeah, Hollow Earth.
which also incredible. This incredible show, like, that is just, it was breathtaking, but it was also very empty. And I'm just like, let me see what Kong does. Like, let me see him invest in the community. You know, I want him to bring some people along. You know, get everybody up on their feet.
Establish some schools in the inner cities.
Yes.
Raise up a little underling.
Build a basketball court. You know what I'm saying?
Build back better, Kong. That's all I'm asking. I can't believe let's just throw that. The other thing, we'll go a little shorter on this one. If you either of you got them, favorite Western.
Western?
Yeah, or just any movie involving a cowboy.
Hell or High Water.
Okay.
Fair enough.
About you,
Not even close for me.
It is favorite Western. Does this count? I think it counts. I want to say Blazing Saddles, and that counts as a Western.
That counts.
Yeah. I
Like,
said if it involves a cowboy, or if, you know, I had the qualifier, or anything involving a cowboy.
Okay. Because, all right, so truthfully, it's that one. But I would also say, like, true Western, I'd say Unforgiven.
That's a good one.
Because
Good.
I just love the scene because he comes back. Because that's the one where Clint Eastwood, he's dead, and then he comes back to life, and then they go to shoot him, and he's got the metal plate on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just lovely scene. Because the dude's like, I can't kill this guy. He's just walking at him. The guy, like, panics. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is perfect. But yeah, lovely movie. But anyways,
I got 3 answers. 2 of them more serious than the first. The first one's Anchorman. Champ is a cowboy. He wears a cowboy
He's a
hat.
cowboy.
correct.
The second, the more serious, is Four Brothers. That's a Western. Like, you just look at the
My
way
mom's favorite movie.
Right, it's so good. I love it. Like, Mark Wahlberg's in it, and he gets to play Mark Wahlberg, but from
Andre
Detroit.
3000 is in it.
Andre
It's 3 Stacks' acting debut. And
Tyrese.
He's Tyrese. Yeah, it has a weird, like, it's also like Vic is also just an asshole that is just like, he's just like, you dog, you know, eat. And then, like, the guy's girl is like, come on, Vic, that's unnecessary. He's like, you his bitch? You get down there and eat with your man.
Yeah, dude. They made him eat on the floor in the restaurant, man.
It's like, damn, that's cold. And nobody said anything about him. It's like, good Lord.
Yeah, that's my mom's favorite movie. That movie, when she first saw it, she was like, I want a gun. And she got one because it's America.
Yeah. And then the actual, like, true, Western, it's the classic. It's Tombstone. Like,
Tombstone's a good one.
it's it's an easy one because I feel like that's like, I also like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's
Phenomenal.
also a solid one. But Champ from Anchorman's my favorite cowboy. So, like, Anchorman's my favorite thing involving a cowboy. And if you have a problem with my qualifications, dear listener, I got nothing for you. You are entitled to your own opinion. But the reason I bring all that up, Cowboys, Godzilla, all that stuff today, we are going to watch from a February 2005 episode of Smackdown, live from Japan. Not live from Japan, sorry. Taped, airing from Japan. The Adventures of JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, who some may know as just Bradshaw from the APA. Some may know him as John Layfield, Justin Hawk Bradshaw, Blackjack Bradshaw. He used to go
Blackjack. That's who.
Yeah.
I've only known him as JBL.
JBL, JBL, infamous for chasing Americans over the Mexican border, thinking that they were just Mexicans. Also famous for choking Chris Jericho with like a camera wire. Also just being a bully. So he's known around the way. However, people don't talk about this enough. When they were over in Japan, leading up to his big match against the Big Show, he had thought of a plan to deal with the Big Show, involving a tranquilizer gun and, getting his group, the Cabinet, to, hurt, maim, and injure the Big Show so he would not have to wrestle him in a barbed wire steel cage match at No Way Out later in the month. What we're going to watch is what happens to his plan and how his plan unfolds. Now, any predictions from either of you before we get into this?
What we think his plan is?
Or what you think the plan is, what you think happen is? Given the context of I was talking about a little bit about Godzilla, some cowboys and whatnot.
His plan to wrangle Godzilla and have him attack the Big Show.
Hey, that's a nice prediction,
Ooh,
Max.
I was gonna figure, is there gonna be some kind of trap? I feel like there's gonna have to be some kind of trap.
Okay, you think there's a trap? Okay, all right. Thinking there's a trap. Okay, all right. Okay, trap. Wrangling Godzilla to attacking the Big Show. All right. Okay. I think those are some good predictions. Listener at home, write them down your own, and then take a picture of it, post it to Twitter, tag me at DorksideRing, and then you'll hear us on the other side of this after some advertisements, aka me plugging my own shit, or maybe somebody else, who knows. And we'll be back here on the Dork Side of the Ring. Hello, it is good to have you here again. Just real quick, I just need to give you a couple details about what we're working on here over at the Grumm Content Factory. Grumm.tv is the community Discord where I will be doing all my live content starting in February. I decided, mainly because COVID really delayed things by about 2 weeks. My plan was to do like a birthday celebration community stream in my Discord. However, it's not happening because of COVID and trying to get everything else set up. I had a bunch of dork sides. I recorded 6 dork sides between like last Saturday, the 15th, and today. So about a week, give or take. So a lot of dork sides between now and then. So that really took up some time to create some content. But anyways, that's that. So first February 2nd, we'll be doing my first Discord stream on Grumm.tv. It'll be a hybrid first Discord stream, birthday celebration with the community. That's all that. Grumm.tv. Go to support.grumm.tv. New month coming out means we get more content released and get told what it is. So if you're wondering what Dorkside episodes you're going to get in the month of February and what videos, go there. Easy to find. Very easy to find. Sorry for burping halfway through, but I had some Sour Patch watermelons. I'm not going to strike that out. They're delicious. They get free plug here. But go to support.grumm.tv. You can get exclusive content like watching watch-alongs. See what watch-alongs you're going to get in February as well. You get a full episode of Dorkside, absolutely exclusive to the elite of the elite tier. And you got to find out all early access for videos, which that also COVID put a hole in, because the whole plan was to do a bunch of them. And yeah, so like I said, I'm kind of behind on content, but you know what I'm not behind on is my love for you. And if you will continue to, I will continue to love you regardless of whether or not you follow me on Twitter or follow me on Instagram. I am Grumm, or follow the Dork Side of the Ring at Dorkside Ring. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's get back to the episode. All right. So we are back on the Dork Side of the Ring. We've got ourselves. We've just watched it. The predictions. You guys together. You kind of figured it out. Now, Wheezy, this is kind of your wheelhouse in terms of fandom watching. But
Correct.
You had said while we were watching it that you did not fully remember this, and you got your timelines mixed up.
Correct.
Did you remember this at all happening?
No.
Okay.
I remember the rivalry between the two, but not specific to this event specifically. But I do, like I had said while we were watching it, I mixed it up with his rivalry with Kurt Angle.
Mm.
So that's what I had mixed up. But I do remember. I remember those two going at it, and then it goes into Big Show, and then stuff like that. But yes,
yeah. So, just a little so what we watched, right? I gave you listeners a little idea. The plan was to shoot a tranquilizer dart at the Big Show, beat him up, hurt him, and whatnot. That's the plan. Simple as that, right? It's pretty straightforward. Perform some a battery, force some drugs in him. That's an assault. That's assault and battery. And then more battering of him. A lot of crime being plotted.
correct.
And the trap.
And then the trap. Yeah, so it ends up in the trap. Now, Max, it doesn't go. It seemingly doesn't go to plan at first, right?
Terrible trap. Oh man, I had said I had never seen this before. For listener context, I've never seen this clip before. I knew who JBL was, but I hadn't seen this. So the whole time I'm watching, it's just so strange. But then the small payoff at the end makes it so much better. It makes it funnier. It makes the previous bits funnier. And that's really what makes you enjoy wrestling.
Mm-hmm. The plan, it was supposed to be, it was being presented as knock him unconscious, hurt him, and then don't have to wrestle him. And then it became very obvious that was not going to be the plan. That was not going to happen because I think it was Amy Weber. I don't think it was. I think it was Amy Weber. At this time there was multiple women who looked exactly like that. Short, dark hair, busty women. One being Joy Giovanni, one being Amy Weber. I think this is Amy Weber. Accidentally shoots JBL, or so we think. And JBL gets drugged up, and he starts talking to Carlito. Says he's got a chia pet on his head, and that it looks like he has got a raccoon making a bed in his brain. Which I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
He teetered some lines there on that raccoon pronunciation too.
a little strong on the second half of raccoon.
Threw a little twang on it.
Yeah.
Too much twang, some are saying.
Yes. And then eyes up a inflatable dinosaur that, for obvious reasons, they could not call, or they could not actually use a likeness of Godzilla. But they just said but also, it's just kind of implied that it's Godzilla.
Yes.
100%.
It's like in Austin Powers. Godzilla. Actually, that is a dinosaur that looks very similar to Godzilla, but it's not.
Yeah.
That's very much what they were doing.
Yeah, no, that was well the thing that's probably it's so weird is like it's two things is because it's in a foreign country and they're not hearing the announcers and like they people were just look really confused during this
Yeah.
bit. But
Well,
so was I. So I mean they sold it.
They sold it, right?
like they're in Japan. This is why because this is the implication, and obviously to the American audience who was watching it at home later that week, like they did this on a tour of Japan in 2005. They went to Japan. They recorded this as a TV episode. Like you hear the announcers, but you don't see any of the announcers, and that's because they weren't there. Why are you going to have announcers fly in Japan just for a single show? That doesn't make sense. But obviously, like I said, the implication is there for copyright reasons. Can't necessarily, do the whole thing. And so JBL wrangles Godzilla or a Godzilla-like creature and drags him into the ring, passing by the beautiful Tori Wilson, who had just who just won a kimono match, which the object was to strip your opponent down to their bra and panties. And
Wild times.
Wild times.
However,
respectfully,
if I speak on Tori Wilson,
Max, I almost just for you, almost recorded the match and just was gonna have that be like just in there because it's like it goes from the match right into JBL dragging the dinosaur down to the ring, and I was gonna be like, well, we'll just Max, you might like enjoy seeing the story here.
Might have enjoyed it too much.
And then he tries to get the dinosaur in the ring, and it comes back and attacks him, and he sells it like he's getting attacked. They go to a commercial break, and they come back, and he's berating the T-Rex. Said that he's not tough, he's not afraid of him. That the Japanese people see him, and then they run away with their cameras, which
strange.
Very strange, but JBL, this is like I said, he chased to win a title shot. He chased what he thought were Mexicans over the Mexico border. Like he's like, oh, I'm a great American. It literally was a Great American Award, and he got it by like chasing quote unquote illegal immigrants back over the border.
Just absurd storyline there.
Right.
Wild times.
And Eddie Guerrero is the champion at the time. So it's obvious what they're aiming here for, which is like, hey, he doesn't, we love, Eddie Guerrero is a hero to Mexican fans and Latino fans across the world. He's got the big American who hates him. Very obvious storytelling. Didn't have to go that far, but the JBL character is very much I would say it's close to home in some aspects of JBL. I would like to not think of an individual being who has not shown me outright really that they are that far, but obviously you gotta have something in your head that lets you say raccoon like that and chase you Mexican Americans.
Be honest, like that dude definitely was at the insurrection, and it is. I know this is not coming out anytime soon, but by the time it comes out, he might have been there again. He might be running it back.
Might have ran it back.
Yeah,
running back the hits.
I honestly, I've always disliked JB just because he was always a heel. I think that
he's a great heel.
How big of a heel he is. Perfect heel. Because I just hated him. I remember going back to the action figure stuff.
Yeah.
Loved Eddie Guerrero. Loved the man. Had the Eddie Guerrero. And one year I got a JBL, and he had the cowboy. It came with a cowboy hat too. And in his rivalry with Eddie Guerrero, Eddie gets a hold of his hat, and he takes it and he starts like pouring like ketchup and mustard in it and like putting fans beer and JBL's hat. And he's like, oh, and he's like parading it around, and JBL's freaking out about his hat and stuff. Lovely bit from Eddie there. But I would do that with the action figures, and I'd be like, "Oh, got your hat." And it was just fun times for hat, because I just loved how ridiculous this man acted over losing a cowboy hat.
Wheezy's in his grandma's living room just pouring ketchup in like a tiny cowboy hat. Like
I had to wash that rubber hat, but I knew.
God dang it, Wheezy, Wheezy small Wheezy, damn it!
You're making a mess in my carpet.
Little big Wheezy, how dare you? You're making a mess. You can't get that stain out. That's red sauce. That's red sauce. You can't get that out of your carpet.
Don't spread it. Dab it. Damn it.
Man, boy, that just like that brings me back flashbacks of like accidentally spilling like a bowl of cereal on like it's just like regular milk, but spilling on like a white carpet and like everybody panicking that it was going to stain. I don't know if that's just I feel like we've all had something similar to that as a child, which is the panic of I did something wrong, but I can't tell that I did something wrong because I don't understand why it's white on white. I don't understand why everybody's not,
what's everybody freaking out about? And then you get older. Yeah. And then you realize how much things cost.
You
cost the fucking the future. If you just let that stain, like I'll clean it. Let me go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go take a shit, and I'll come back and clean it. And then you forget about it, and then next thing you know, there's mildew and mold, and you're like, where is this smell coming from? And you're like, oh no, I remember. Mm-hmm. I spilled milk. I spilled my Honey Nut Cheerios with milk all on the carpet.
I'd have been put in a hardcore championship match if I spilled anything on my grandma's carpet.
Right.
I was going 1-on-1 with the Undertaker.
That's exactly. Oh, hold on now, player.
Now hold on a minute, player.
You every time you try to backtalk your grandma, Teddy Long comes out. Hold on now, player.
Yeah, you got that title there. You ain't defended all month. Champion got to defend that title there. That's exactly what I was getting.
I'm glad I didn't get checked like that with my title belt.
Look, man.
I definitely used to hit my sister over the head with it, like they do, like like the usual, just talk with the title belt before the ambush where you hit them over the head with it. I used to do that shit all the time. My sister, it's probably why she hates me now.
If I would have had. If like YouTube was bigger when I was like, because I just missed it, I could have had like a viral like smash like YouTube channel of me just cutting wrestling promos from like the ages of like 6 to 12. I was off the charts. I was giving them the hard times. I was telling them about the John 316. Oh, it was phenomenal stuff.
Wheezy 316 said, "I just spilled marinara sauce on your carpet."
That's exactly it.
now, I don't know why it went from like just like ketchup to milk to marinara sauce, but now I'm just envisioning like you just have made an entire like company federation out of your toys. Because I know I did, where it's like, hey, all right, Batista's my champion. Oh no, but here comes the Undertaker, and oh no, here's the Big Show, and it's like, oh, there's JBL. Throw him.
Oh,
I went like a step further, and like I had my ring and I had my wrestling toys, and then I would sign new franchises to the WWC. I'm talking about like Transformers. I'm like, oh, Transformers are getting recruited. Like the Ninja Turtles are wrestling now. Like this is crazy. These shells were built to bounce off those roads.
Oh, God, yeah, I'd get stories. It was funny. I would you know how the Undertaker he goes old school?
Yep.
All right. So I think the coolest thing I did was I balanced him, and I had like this like freeze frame of the Undertaker going old school on the wrestling ring, and then he was like jumping and attacking Edge, like doing the old school thing. But I had him walking on the ropes, and it's like really hard to do with the toys, but just goofy shit like that. My dad came out and he's like, "Is he going old school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's going old school off the top rope."
You bet it, big Wheezy. You
Yeah,
bet.
double XL Wheezy. You know what's going on.
But
I,
go ahead.
I don't know. I just thinking back, I had so many of those toys, and like, it's gonna sound dumb. The first $100 I ever spent was on the like actual like replica ring where you could undo the turnbuckles and lift the skirt and hide the weapons underneath it because I thought it was way more accurate.
Man,
And
I'm telling you, wrestling toys have been hot for a long time. Like even when I was younger, they were fully articulated and shit like that, and the rings were dope, man.
well, and the thing was, I was so into these, and like my brother tried. I'm still pissed at him. I had a Stone Cold, and we were messing around with them, and I don't really like smash my toys together because I know you gotta like they have all these joints. You can make them do the accurate moves. And he was just like, he'd grab them and jam them together. And he made the Stone Cold do a Stone Cold Stunner, but he like slammed it against the ground and he broke the arm off of my Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh no, man! And that was when you
Another
couldn't
one.
fix them. Yeah,
And
you
so
couldn't
I'm
fix
like,
them then.
it was right at the shoulder. Whole thing broke off. So
Oh my god, I would have
I'm
killed
like,
him.
all right, I guess I don't have a Stone Cold anymore. He had the knee braces and everything. I was so pissed. I was like, come on, man.
I would have. You, my mother would have found my brother, dead in the morning, choking on the arm of a broken Stone Cold. I would have. Like...
Look, it's okay. I beat him at Hell in a Cell. He owed me a new one. It's fine. I took him down. That was just the start of the rivalry. You see, we cut some new promos, and he really got out of that one bad. But no, I did not get a new Stone Cold. I was so pissed, and he never got to play. I was like, you're not allowed to play with these with me anymore. Like, just you're done. And so the rest of the time it was just me. But so what got me into engineering was I was literally like 10 years old, and I had come up with this idea for like, oh god, I might have to cut this because this is still a hot idea. I'll explain it, and you might actually and if you think it's such a hot, I honestly want, like, this might be too hot. Any listeners out there, I got the drawings. This is my original idea. Damn it. The Wheezy law team will have you in the.
This is like that episode of The Office where they're interviewing people and the guy's like, I have a 5-step plan, but I'm only going to give you steps 3 or 4.
Yeah. What's the plan? All right. Now listen. So instead of having it was like small soldiers, but so it was, you would take the action figures and you could use like an Xbox controller, and they would do like, you could do combos with the controller, and it would they would move like little tiny robots, and they would do the actual wrestling moves at the other figure. Okay.
I need that.
And it would have like preloaded like catchphrases, because you can do like, people would say stuff and it'd have like catchphrases and they're different like promos and shit. So they'd be like, yada yada. And you could take a chip out of their back of their head and like load in new promos. Like if they cut a hot one, you could go into the network on like the website that you bought the toy from, and you could download new promos. And so then they would do new promos. You could download new moves and stuff. And so you'd have the little robots, and they could, controlled by your little Xbox controller and the little action figures. And then you could set them up and do actual stuff with it. So that's the idea. And I drew out like the action figure, and I was like, oh yeah, it's got this. And I did the little arrows and stuff. And I showed my dad and was like explaining it to him. And I didn't know this until like a couple years later, but I showed my dad the photo, and he was like, this is like really sick. Like, holy hell. And so he took the photo to my mom and was like, hey, we got to go to the store. We got to buy these. And my mom was like, what's that? And he was like, oh yeah, Cam was telling me about this toy, and it sounds really sick. Like, you load new moves in, you can have them do this like with the controller and stuff. And she goes, he just like made that up, right? And he was like, what do you mean? And she goes, he drew that himself. And they were like, so it's not a real toy? And she was like, no, just came up with it. And he was like, man, that's so badass. How the hell did he come up with that? And they were like, I don't know. But from that point forward, they were pushing me towards STEM, and that is why I grew up and I started doing actual STEM stuff like in middle school, literally 6th grade. From that point forward, literally 6th grade through high school, I was all doing like STEM stuff, because I literally just came up with a toy idea for wrestling. I honestly still think it's a really good idea today.
Wrestling changed your life.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah, like really.
And the thing is you could sit there and now it could be like what do you call it? DLC and shit. Like you could have a battle pass for these damn wrestlers and just
Yeah.
sit there and
Man, I gotta shout out the GOAT wrestling toy though. That was the Stretch Armstrong Stone Cold edition. And then there was also those, y'all remember those Stone Cold Hulk Hogan pillows and shit?
Yeah,
those
the
were,
Slam
my brother had
Buddies.
the Stone Cold one.
yeah, those were the best ones.
Yeah, they're a lot of wrestlers are investing. So there's like a small company that will make them, but they only make like limited runs of it. Like there's a there like basically a lot of independent wrestlers are like, yeah, this is what I grew up wanting as a kid. Like I loved having, you know, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan or the Goldberg, or like also Goldberg and Stone Cold one, same one. I swear to God, there's little to no difference. It literally is just like they printed the same one, and then they would put they would take marker and do a squiggly fucking like tattoo for for Goldberg, but like. Yeah, the Slam Buddies, they're making a comeback. Amazing, like that. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm going to keep it, mainly because like that is an awesome story about like like wrestling. Like Max said, wrestling changed your life.
Yeah.
If it was not for like maybe not it like solely, but like if not for having the idea as a kid to be like, oh, what if I could just create a remote control wrestler like toy? That'd be awesome. And your parents being like, all right, this kid's smart. We gotta give this kid the ability to like act like to be like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
And like, who knows? You could have been on that path for other things, but like the fact that your parents were like, you fooled your dad. You had your dad pining for that. He's like, this is so fucking cool.
I gotta go get this toy.
Fuck getting it for my kid. I'm getting it for me.
No, he was like dead. She told me it was like 11 o'clock at night, and she was like,
he's like, honey, you seeing this shit?
He was like, yo, we gotta get these things are flying off the shelves, and she's like, not a real thing.
Back, you know how much I would kill for a GI Joe that could actually kill people.
Yeah. No, he's
we
like,
gotta.
Oh man,
if they got wrestlers that do this, they gotta have GI Joe.
Yeah, they got it. Oh jeez,
a fucking Thundercat. Oh yes.
Oh, it was. Yeah, thinking about it, it's very funny. But yeah, no, honestly, because really, like I said, from that point forward, a lot of people were like, you know, I was in high school and you're like, what am I going to do? And I really never had to sit there and think about it too much because I was like, no, I'm already like really interested in this stuff. And I was kind of already dead set on what I was doing before I even did it. So that's kind of the funny part about this is I'm like, oh yeah, and that's all because of like wrestling and wanting to like create all this stuff, you know, and I would sit there and to get my writing skills up, my mom like, she didn't really trick me, but she was just like, okay, so you can plan a episode of Raw, write out how the whole episode goes. And literally I would sit there and write the entire show from start to finish. And then that's how my writing skills, like growing up, were like honed. She was like, she knew wrestling was like my bread and butter to like teach me things. Like, oh yeah, hey, Jeff Hardy jumped off the top of this. What does he do next? Go from there. And I'd be like, all right, well, I know what Jeff Hardy does. It ain't gonna be pretty, but it's gonna be 10 pages of burnt metal.
That's crazy.
Shout out
wrestling and Wheezy's parents.
Shout out wrestling. Shout out your parents for like realize like just it sounds so simple, but there's like it's also harder for teachers because like you're trying to do like 30 to 35 kids. Figure out all their interests and be like, hey, let me relate this thing to a single one to you in a 45-minute thing. But like, even just 1-to-1, like, or 2-to-1 in your parents' case, to be like, hey, Our son is this he's a wrestling junkie. How can we make sure that he doesn't become a pro wrestler and goes to do something that's much better for his life? Because if we don't step in right now, this motherfucker's gonna be jumping off shit like he's Jeff Hardy, and we can't have that.
They're like, he's already successfully defended the belt 3 times. He's good at this.
He's good. If he can figure out that he can make money doing this, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. I just like I'm sitting here like, yeah, no, like growing up, I had a very nerdy and involved like relationship with with pro wrestling. Like I went to when I was in college, I went to train. I saved up money. I'm like, I'm gonna go train. I made it a whole week. Couldn't last. Not for me. But like, I would do like wrestling role play, where like I would write out a promo, and it would be judged against another person's promo, and then that's how you would dictate who won and who lost every match. And I'm like, this is like, I'm sitting here like, it took me a while to be like, yeah, no, this is what I used to do openly and honestly. And it's like, man, this sounds so fucking nerdy. Like, I used to pretend I would role play like a professional wrestler, and now I role play as an 18-year-old like SoundCloud rapper turned vampire gangster criminal person. Like, it only gets worse, really. So Wheezy, when can we expect the remote control grapplers?
Yeah, when's this coming out?
Look, honestly, so it's the new year. I got some books on Java coding and things like that. I could tinker with the idea of trying to get it out, at least kind of getting back into the idea, because I've kind of shelved it for, school and stuff. But honestly, check the shelves 2026. Let me do some R&D and
Shark Tank 2024?
2 years. There might be an update about it. 2 years. We'll see what happens.
All right, cool.
A lot of progress can be made. I mean, I got a 3D printer here. I can start getting on stuff like that.
Ooh.
I'm going to need to make a couple trips to the old, wire store and stuff, get some robotics rolling. But I've seen less intricate things, or more intricate things fly on YouTube and TikTok and wherever you get your internet videos. So I don't think it's completely implausible. I think it'd actually be a pretty fun little project for me. So
yeah, no, like, it sounds like I'm sitting here. I'm like, fuck the rest of this goddamn episode. We're just gonna sit here and brainstorm ideas for your for your thing. Like, I don't care about talking about JBL fooling Big Show into getting fucking beat the fuck up. But the fact that he just said you're lizard, and JBL stands for just beat a lizard
just beat a lizard.
Just beat a lizard.
Just beat a lizard. That and put up your Dukes, Dragon, which I feel like is just incredible. Like, from now on, if I get into a fight, I feel like that's what I'm gonna just say to the person. I'm like, all right, put your Dukes up, Dragon.
Very much a stand up. That's
all you can say.
Yeah. Just hilarious.
What about you, Max? Have you created a remote controlled toy that you want Wheezy to make for you?
I have not. When I was a kid, I literally only drew guns and planes and Gundams. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, if I wasn't, like, I was either I'm drawing an airplane, a gun, or a Gundam robot. That was it. Like, I remember my 6th grade art teacher would just be furious with me. And dude, I was good at drawing. And she really, like, made me hate drawing. She was just like, you got to stop drawing this stuff. You got to draw this dumbass flower that I told you to draw.
Man, that's the worst. Yeah. Like, having a passion and it just being completely drained from you because an adult didn't like the way you were following your own passion.
They were sick ass guns, like airplanes and Gundams. Like, they
all right, let's try to rekindle the passion. Let's get some of these like, it's 2022. We can get some like energy plasma nano cannons. Like, Max, you could be Tony Stark.
Hell no, nah, man! I smoke way too much. I smoke way too much weed for that.
Well, all right. Well, you can be Tony Stank.
I'll be Tony Dank. Nah, Tony Dank. Tony Dank.
Tony Dank. It's yeah, no, here are all my good ideas that are half baked because I'm fully baked. Like,
yes, that's what I need. Is just
Gotta
like
be some gems in there.
a think tank to just like let me come. Like I just show up to work and I just smoke weed in a room and just like rattle off ideas and then write them down.
look, Wheezy's an there's a lot of engineers. I don't know what engineers do. I really don't. I know.
We open up our computer and we look at it, and then you got to open up one sheet of Excel, and then nobody bothers you because they think that you're very busy.
I know PDR hates them. Like, I don't know why. I just don't understand what. But you know, I'm sure if you get like a room full of engineers, Max, you'd be sitting there shooting out your half-baked ideas, and like 3 of them a month would be like, all right, that's something we can do.
Yeah, we're gonna become billionaires.
The Cord makes billions and also creates weapons of mass destruction because Max is out here. What about a gun, right? It's a gun, but instead of bullets, it shoots lasers. But the lasers are in bullets.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Laser grenades too.
And I'm not talking about like a light show lasers. I'm talking about like the ones that melt people.
So interestingly enough,
here we go.
On the laser gun idea, I wrote one of my college entrance exam like essays. It was for UF. They were like, "Hey, so you want to go to the engineering school? Write us a thing about an invention that would save the thing." And I didn't want to write about the wrestling one because I felt a little goofy doing that, which I should have in hindsight. But I wrote about how we could use laser weapons and how because in photonics they had just discovered that if you shoot a laser through like a photon, you can solidify the beam of light and make it solid and like actually like a thing. So creating like photon bullets that will hold the like, you know, like a pulsing, like in the style of like Star Wars, like a laser gun that would go boom kind of thing and move the light. You can in a vacuum latch the light to the physical photon and it'll create a solid. So you could have laser bullets that would burn through somebody because it would hold the energy that the light creates. And then you have to solve the propulsion, stuff like that. But my whole crux of the argument was you wouldn't have to spend money on ammunition because it's laser bullets and you have infinite ammo. And
nah, we don't have infinite ammo because energy is not infinite.
Okay.
And bullets are just way cheaper. The government just be like, they be like, we're making bullets.
You have to also think a laser weapon is just mad accurate because you can pinpoint like they use lasers to pinpoint where like targets are within like a half of a millimeter. It's crazy what lasers can do. So in theory, if you're using a laser weapon with all of those adjustments and stuff like that against somebody that doesn't have those laser weapons, you could effectively just ruin their day by just one shot, one killing everybody. But that was this whole college entrance essay. And I didn't think that the people reading it would be horrified by the notion that I wrote about. Yes, you can just demolish entire people against you if you create these laser weapons in the means of
Did you get accepted to UF?
Yeah, and we would lose less people on our side because they don't have the laser weapons, and it just sounds very genocidal. Very tone deaf from me, but it is very, very possible to create a laser gun. It would be very sick, but there are limitations, and a lot of the applications. I'm kind of annoyed because they could create real lightsabers with this. Like, you don't even need to make a laser weapon. You create a lightsaber and actually have like real lightsabers with this technology. Nobody's done it. And instead they're using it to create supercomputers that can do data transfer really, really, really fast, which I get. And then it doesn't have bandwidth because it has infinite bandwidth because it's light and you can just expand the amount of data it transfer. It's a whole thing, and I don't want to get all into large words and crazy things, but
I appreciate that because I'm dumb.
We could have lightsabers, we could have laser guns, but instead we have fast computers.
Okay, now I understand why PDR hates engineers. Like, I understand it now.
We're not getting all the cool things.
We're not getting any cool things.
And you know what? I blame that on the University of Florida admissions people, because if I went there, those laser guns would be in processing right now. We'd have
if they would have accepted you. If they would have accepted you, Wheezy, as soon as you stepped on campus, the FBI would have been there. Been like, excuse me,
like, sir.
Excuse me, Wheezy, large Wheezy, need you to come with us, and you're like, what? And then
did you like my essay, sir?
We saw your
security.
I need to read this thing.
It'd be like Shia LaBeouf in Transformers. You just all of a sudden find yourself among the greatest minds of Black Ops projects, and they're like, "We read your piece. We want you to lead this project." And you're like 18 years old, going, "I'm just trying to see some titties and drink."
Yeah,
like, we can get you that.
I just met up with Megan Fox, and she rode my robot car. Can I just go home?
Right? How? Come on, Shia LaBeouf. Fumbling the Sam Witwicky.
Yeah. Just fumbling over the bag. But yeah, no. I think about that all the time. We could have cool laser weapons, but
I'm just hearing remote control wrestler figures, laser weapons. You combine those two, and you basically have Gundams.
Yes, that is very true. Bridging the gap there, you basically just have some
nice,
it's a combination of like Ready Player One and like Gundams. Yeah. Well, or are Gundams already like controlled by somebody outside of the suit? I'm not.
It's like
you're in the Gundam.
Yeah, you're in the Gundam.
Okay. Okay.
So you just have to get the controls inside the Gundam, and you control it. Not remotely, but like
it might
Pacific
sound
Rim.
Dumb. My understanding of Gundams just goes back to Power Rangers.
I mean, it's practically, and I'm gonna piss Max off, and I'm gonna piss some other people off. It's basically the same thing, except instead of 5 people in one,
go.
It's it's one person in one, and it's far more like in theory, a Gundam is a power Zord. Now, Gundam the show, obviously far more involved. There's political dramas and sometimes and other shit. Also, the design's much cooler. But think of it like Pacific Rim fighting the kaijus, but not as like teen angsty.
Interesting. I see, and I this all could come together quite nicely for Max.
Go check out Gundam. For real.
I am going to.
Gundam Wing is the best one, but
out of respect for your interests and me, having a childlike understanding of Gundams and comparing it to Power Rangers, I feel like I'm obligated to check this out and get a better understanding.
You are like Power Rangers, they are both child soldiers.
Yeah, they're.
Do they have any comparable people to the Pink Ranger?
Oh, absolutely not. Like most of the Gundam pilots are all like they have to be somewhat like psychopathic to be a child and committing murder on that scale. They be murdering the shit out of people.
I'll note that down. No Pink Ranger.
No, just no Pink Ranger. That's a con. Pro, psychopathic child murdering children.
That always did tie me in. It's like Ender's Game,
right? Dude, what a wacky movie.
Strange movie.
Crazy.
Was just
I liked it though. I wanted more.
Honestly,
it was. Yeah. I think they spent too long with like the illusion that it was just like not that, and then because they don't show the twist. Spoiler alert: the twist is that they lied to him the whole time, and then he actually was like doing like figuring out war and killing people like this whole time.
Yeah, they had told him, "Oh, it's just a simulation of the battle," and they did that so he would be more ruthless. And then he, does a war.
He commits oopsies, baby's first war crimes.
Yeah. It was, and then he understandably breaks down, which probably for the best.
Thought it was a game, man. Just thought it was a game.
I mean, I too would freak out if I found out that Call of Duty, just me actually just murking folks. That would just be terrible. So,
like, what would you feel worse about? Would you feel worse if you found out at the end of your game that what you did was with real people's lives? Would you be more upset that you turned one person into a psychopathic killer who could not be stopped, or sent like 30 people to their deaths?
I feel like with the Ender's Game scenario, though, everybody that died like was part of the military, right? They kind of knew they were going to die.
They knew they were in on the scheme. However, I definitely think it would be you create this unstoppable guy because he creates those atrocities. So that is definitely something, because more than 30 people of just our people died. But very much that movie, honestly, I'm gonna have to run that back. That was good callback by me. Go ahead, brain. I enjoyed that movie. Quality stuff. It's a good think piece.
Yeah. I think I would probably rather create the monster. Like I'd rather go like 23-1 in a game versus going like 1-27.
Right.
Like I directly led 7 people to their deaths, regardless of whether or not they signed up for it or not. Versus like, I don't want to do that. Let me have a one person think for 10 minutes that they are God and they are just murdering people, stabbing people with akimbo rifles, and like my favorite like Call of Duty is Modern Warfare 2, mainly because running around with a tactical knife with commando marathon and just stabbing people from across the fucking map. Good time.
The Akimbo Rangers.
Oh, the 1887s. Yeah, just the fucking boom, the fucking reload on those. Insane. Good Lord, man, what a hole we went down.
Right.
Kind of went down a little rabbit there.
I think that's I've done it. I've had Neezus and X on, and we spent an hour talking about Shawn Michaels' dirty macking.
Oh, buddy.
Like, and if you
heard he had some sunny days.
Buddy, he had a sunny year. Just the short version. If you want to go back and listen to it, it's episode 22, 21 or 22. It's the Spirit Squad episode.
Oh.
Which is just how fucking far down, like, again, this is what happens on the Dork side.
Ironically enough, I saw something the other day about Mikey from the Spirit Squad, and he is still running the Spirit Squad gimmick. And I thought that's funny because Dolph Ziggler was a member of the Spirit Squad, and he has a whole separate career as a different guy, and this guy is over here like, hey, I'm still Mikey from the Spirit Squad.
Kenny's doing the same thing.
In the same universe.
Yeah. like that's the thing. In 2016, there was a feud between The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. The Miz was like, I am the champion. I'm the greatest very bigging himself up, all this shit.
Right.
And Dolph Ziggler's like, no, you're not. Like, no. Like, to the point where their title feud main evented a pay-per-view. Not the WWE Championship. that was on the same brand, the Intercontinental title, because it was title versus career that main evented the entire show.
Wow.
That's how intense this got. It also, Miz being a dickweed,
Lovely.
was like, "Hey, Dolph, you leave you talk about this and that. You sure as hell leave your friends behind." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And then like Kenny and Mikey just fucking jump him while wearing the Spirit Squad getup, and it's just like, this is 10 years. They're still wearing this, and 10 years later.
Yeah.
But the short version of it, longer versions obviously on the podcast.
Right.
Shawn Michaels and Sunny, who was at one point the most downloaded woman in all of the internet, were kind of this weird, like, couple, not really couple, because she's also dating a guy, to the point where, like, her boyfriend would go looking for her and would ask Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels' friend, go, "Hey, have you seen Sunny?" And he's like, "Nope," knowing damn well that, like, Kevin Nash is, like, guarding the door. He goes, "Hey, is Sunny in there?" Knowing damn well, like Sunny's in there getting her cheeks clapped in a locker room by Shawn Michaels while they're both coked the fuck out.
That's crazy.
It got, like, Kevin Nash has, like, told the story. He's like, it got so bad one day where I was like, "Hey, Chris, let's go get drunk." Like, Kevin Nash abandoned his post because the only person he ever had to worry about was Chris Candido being like, "Sunny's in there. I know it. I'm going to get her." And, like, Chris Candido's like 5'4", 5'5". Like, he's a small.
Do anything.
No. And then Kevin Nash is 7 foot and a bouncer. But it got so bad to the point where, like, Shawn Michaels was building a house. Sunny helped him build the house. And then he goes, "I want you to move in with me." And she goes, "No." So then he's living in a house that she helped decorate. But she's not living there. Because she's like, if I live with you, I have to break up with Chris. And Chris is probably going to kill himself if I break up with him. It's like, what the fuck?
That's sad.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that's the just dirty macking to an extreme. But that's the last rabbit hole I really went down. Nothing does not compare to finding out that Wheezy was a child prodigy of
robots.
Wrestling of wrestling merchandise creating, learning that the technology for photon energy and in theory light weaponry and lightsabers is real, but we're instead using it on computers, to Gundams.
Nah, they're just like, the real reason we don't have it is because capitalism. Because those all the computers that they're going in are just like at big hedge funds and the stock exchange, and they're just being used to do algorithm trading and data analytics. So that's why
Those supercomputers are used for Bitcoin. So thank you, progress.
Yeah.
Ah, boy. Yeah, so basically photon energy is being used to destroy the okay, that makes sense. Hey, you know what? College Wheezy was right. Light energy is being used to really destroy civilizations. Ours.
It's in a different way.
It's just in a bad way, because everybody's going to die. Which I guess in a sense your college entry paper probably said that, kind of.
So I didn't really mince words in the same manner, but yeah.
I just imagine the most graphic novel that's ever been written, and it's a 17-year-old Wheezy trying to get into the University of Florida.
And then as we create these guns, Jeff Hardy descends from the rafters, and bombs the enemy. And I'd edit that page out. My mom didn't like that episode of Raw, so I had to cut that bit.
She didn't like the light weaponry. She's like, "Look, it's either one or the other. You can't have both. You either have the light weaponry or Jeff Hardy."
But Mom, he's just so cool.
He is.
It's like you see, like just all the link tweets on Twitter, and I'm like, "Look at this man. He's just so cool." That's all my paper would be.
I like.
It wouldn't get me, but I'd be glad that.
It's when you tweet at Jeff Hardy and he goes, "Look here, brother, I didn't go to college. Look at me." And you're just like,
I better write about those light weapons.
Yeah, go do these weapons. I need to make sure I'm. And that's a local boy to you.
Yeah,
Max.
right down the road.
Down the road. I know his property is enormous, but have you ever seen his lawn art?
Nah, I haven't.
Look, he is phenomenal, but he's obsessed with it in a way I didn't like. I'm a landscaper by profession,
Oh,
and
that's sick.
And I take pride in like it looking clean. This guy is just like, yeah, I just get on a mower and I just go.
Oh my god, it's like tribal tattoos in his yard.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And he also he was on Stone Cold's podcast, which is on the Peacock Network. So if you're able to, it's the Broken Skull Sessions. Jeff Hardy, I think, is the most recent one, and they talk about his lawn art. He's like, yeah. And the thing was, I just got me an edger, and Stone Cold's like, what do you mean you just got yourself an edger? And he's like, I was using a shovel to cut the edges. Now I just go with that and I just go. And he's like, you use a weed whacker. And he's like, I could have, yeah.
But I did that.
Yeah, but he didn't. He's a weird dude, and obviously some of that oddity did not help his creativity has often led him to the wrong type of medication. More often than not. Yeah. Like, I mean, part of me, as a dork side topic, there was a window that I could have done it, but his current situation is like no one really knows.
Yeah.
But like in 2011, he went on a pay-per-view main event match, gone, completely obliterated, just intoxicated.
That was for Glory, right?
Victory Road.
Victory Road. Sorry. Yep. Yeah. It was with the Stinger. Yeah.
Yeah. And he comes out and Sting's Sting went to the ref. Well, or so the story goes, nobody sees Jeff throughout the day, right? He's doing his own thing. Everybody's like, whatever. They're doing a whole live fucking pay-per-view. And Jeff walks up to the gorilla position, which is the position right before you go out on stage and go to the ring. And they're looking and they're like, "You all right, Jeff?" And he's like, "Yeah, mm-hmm, not all right." Rough. And people are like, "Okay." And Eric Bischoff is like, it's something like to the effect that Eric Bischoff looked at Jeff, realized, "Fuck, we can't. He's got to go out there." All right, and immediately made the call "Hey," got the ref's ear and said, "Hey, we're going home." Told Sting, "We're going home. You are pinning him. I don't care if you have to fucking choke him out. You are pinning him." And he basically just rolls him up. 1, 2, 3. He basically told the ref, he goes, "You count to 3, even if he kicks out at 1. I don't care."
Yeah, and the reaction of the crowd, they were booing, and then Sting was like, "Look, I didn't want to do this. It was his fault." And Jeff was all freaked out because he knows that wasn't the finish of that match. And it was kind of frustrating because I remember the timeline of that was he had been the world heavyweight champion and he was in the feud with CM Punk, and it was this was before this, a few months. This was months before this, and then he went. And like I said, he did this whole big push. He won the title. They knew he could have the title. I don't think it was the heavyweight title. I think it was the WWE Championship.
No, it was the World Heavyweight.
It was World. Okay.
Yep.
Well, regardless. And I'm this is peak my Jeff Hardy fan. Like I said, I had the armbands. I wore every day for 5th grade. I had a Hardy Boys hoodie my mom got me. And I wore it literally every day of 5th grade, every single day. And just loved the hell out of it. I had the necklace, the Hardy Boys, the beaded necklace thing. Had that, wore that every day. I still have that. I still have all that stuff here. And I even have a custom. You know how they have the Team Extreme, the 2 Extreme Hardy Boys tank top.
Mm-hmm.
I got one of those with my name on the back. So I wore all this shit all the time. I was literally like, I'd dress up like I was Jeff Hardy. And so when he lost the title to CM Punk because they were going to release him, that was like the whole thing. He had the whatever arrest and stuff. And I was like, I didn't know that's why he was getting, like, I didn't know he was getting released. I didn't know this whole thing. And then he lost the title. And I remember like crying because he lost the title. And I'm like, this sucks. And then he was gone. And I tried to like look, because, you know, the internet, it was enough that the internet worked. So I looked it up and it was like, oh yeah, he got like arrested. I was like, oh, he got like arrested. And then he went to TNA. And I remember seeing him come back to TNA because there were like rumblings that he'd make it. So I remember watching that and then the whole thing all the way up and the feud with Sting and he had the belt. They even like custom did a belt for him and stuff. It was a whole thing. And then the thing happens and then he gets in trouble at TNA and then it's a whole mess. And you're just like, there's a guy like enjoy watching and it's just like tough to see. But you know, that's just, I mean, sadly that happens in wrestling a lot.
Mm. Yeah, like it's definitely it's definitely rough, especially when it's your favorite. It's funny that you were such a Jeff Hardy guy because I was such a CM Punk guy at that time. So like, I'm seeing Punk go, I'm like, oh man, Punk, like so Jeff beats like Edge for the title, and then immediately CM Punk goes, nope, I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank, and I'm gonna have this title's mine. And the reason I did this is because you're a bad role model. You get high. You do. Yeah. I'm straight edge. I'm a good role model, and I'm like, yes, finally. This is what, you know. Hell yeah, I'm straight edge and I'm better than you. Awesome. This is the bad guy I want to watch because fuck that shit. Like. And it's just funny that it's like it was the perfect opponent. It's just funny that you were completely on the opposite sides of each other.
Totally.
Meanwhile, Max was just enjoying life.
Yeah, he was just like, yes. I'm over here with the necklace, the armbands, watching the match. Like, he's gonna do it. Didn't do it.
Did not.
Lovely times.
Good times. Yeah, good time. Well, you know, good times and great times. Like today. Today was a good time. Today was a great time to have with two pals doing the fun stuff. Before I do have one more question pertaining to what we watched as that was so long ago, but it is there a more effective way to like there's no better way that could have gone than to just it be a ruse and to like that's the only otherwise like that had to end with JBL being pretending that he was tranquilized and ambushing Big Show, right?
It had to have the payoff because without the payoff, it makes everything feel so silly. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, why are we doing it? But with the payoff, it's like, oh, like it like I said when I was watching it, when we got the payoff, it just like changes my whole perception of the previous 7 and 8 or 8 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely, we were sitting there and it was like we were confused because you're like, okay, this is just looking, because it was like I said, he, you know, he strips down like he does the Ric Flair and he's like short of dropping on his doing the like the fall and stuff like that. He didn't do any of that, but it was just, it almost looked in bad taste. And then, you know, especially because he's the champion, because you're like, why is the champion on his own will in the middle of the ring, like acting like he's like I said, tranquilized, like, you know, saying all these dumb things, and then you realize, oh, this is the trick. This is good. This was, but it was borderline, and it was really there. I think I can't think of a more effective way that, because they really got Big Show out there. Big Show's like, hey, what are you doing, dude? And then he just comes right at him, and great ambush. Honestly, I think that was better than you know, parking his truck in some bushes and chasing people across the border. So that was very effective.
Yeah, I think it made him look real, like from a character standpoint, like it was very funny because right before, and I don't know if it'll go up on Patreon or not, but right before, I think Wheezy used to like, what where's this going? He looks so bad. Like, and then immediately he's like, right hand, right hand, right hand, clothesline from hell, and it's like, okay, now he looks like a badass, champion. Like he outsmarted. Wow, okay, And Max was very pleased. He's like, it was like a good belly rub. You're like, all right, that's good. That's fine. That's good. Thank you.
I felt good.
Yeah.
But that sums up. It was as executed as well as they could get. It's one of the rare like dork side things that like it starts off dorky and ends like pretty good, but still is elements of it. It's like they just found an inflatable T-Rex and said that was made loose. Like, hey, it's a giant lizard in Japan. Well, it's kind of like Godzilla, but we won't say it's Godzilla.
Yeah, crazy the lizard problem Japan has.
You're just a big lizard. You're just Big Show's a dinosaur. He's Barney. He eats pizza.
He eats pizza. Just beat lizards.
JBL stands for just beat lizard. Put your dukes up, dragon.
Dukes up.
The way that he drags the dragon to his dragon. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for hanging out and being a part of this episode of The Dork Side. Before we go, I would like to give you guys the opportunity once more to plug your stuff or any causes that are near and dear to your heart. We'll go in reverse order. So we'll start with Max. Max, you first.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I had a lot of fun. Also learned a lot. Like it's nice like hearing like wrestling through the lens of like two historians of the game. If you want to check out my podcast, that would be greatly appreciated. It's Dopeflix, one word, Dopeflix. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Dopeflix_the pod. I'm also on Letterboxd. If you got a Letterboxd account, follow me on there.
And are you anywhere else on the Instagrams that you wish to, or Twitter, anywhere on the social medias?
If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Maxironi, but it's a 0 instead of a O on the Oni. Just be forewarned, like I do be getting kind of crazy on Twitter, so just putting that out there.
He does. As somebody who does follow Max, does. But it's not. I haven't seen crazier, but I've seen worse kind of crazy, if that makes sense. So, but it's a good crazy.
Yeah, nothing
Wheezy,
too bad.
Wheezy, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you certainly for having me on. That was a fun trip. I don't really have anything to plug. I'm not in really any other podcasts and stuff. I just, do this for fun. It's pretty good. But I guess you'll see me around. I'll shout out some CPFs if Broads is listening. Hi, Broads. Hey, other Max, what's good? Also shout out PDR hating on the engineers. That only fuels me. And a reminder, if you do steal my idea, you do have to face me in the Elimination Chamber. I have the belt, and that's up for contention. So watch yourself.
Got the belt and the intellectual property. Circa 2003. Maybe 2004. Who knows? I don't know time.
You're there. Yeah.
Yeah, right about there. Good shout outs. It's good to get some shout outs to other Max, the other shop boy. See, that was the thing, right? Because my brain goes, all right, who do I pair these guys up with? And I was like, well, if you were going to ask, like Wheezy, if you were going to ask do I get to know who I get to record with, I would have told you it's a Max you're familiar with. Just because you've been like, cool, if it's my shop, just to see if you would have been like, yeah, shop boys on Dork side, hell yeah. And then
technically, I'm in the shop boys.
You are a shop boy.
Yeah. Max has thrown his hat in the ring.
Yeah, I'm not a shop boy. I'm not. I'm just. I have that's your guys' corner. I got the whole city. So that is
fair enough.
Before we go, I meant
on the corner of Grummer Dome Avenue
and Dork
right next to the Smackdown Hotel.
Know Your Road Boulevard and Shut Your Mouth Avenue. Before I meant to, it's like I said, it's been about like 6 or 7 weeks since I've recorded a podcast. What I was supposed to ask before I gave you guys the floor was for your final thoughts on your experience here on the Dork side of the ring. So we'll start with you, Wheezy. Final thoughts as you leave the Dork side of the ring.
I honestly think it was a very fun experience. That was a good time. Honestly, we really went down all sorts of different avenues and lanes, and definitely talked about some things I haven't really thought about in a few years. So it's very funny, especially because we did the whole, big show with the tranquilizer, and I was just like, I kind of faintly remember. It's weird because you consume it all and then you get away from it and then you pull it back. So it was very fun to dive back into, and I'll certainly be kind of pulling this episode back up for other reasons on the old Peacock later. But very fun time, and I appreciate you for having me. I really do. Hope to be back eventually. I know you got other people you want to get on, but I'm always game to come back because this was a very enjoyable experience.
Hell yeah. I might have to. I see, the good thing about getting people who I know are fans, but I don't know how well versed they are, is now I know, okay, Wheezy, attitude, ruthless aggression era. Okay, cool. So now I go, all right, that means WCW is completely on the table here because there's not any.
Yes.
There's a lot for WCW. Max, final thoughts as you exit the Dork side of the ring.
As I said, like, it's really nice to hear the history and to hear more than, because I'm like the most casual observer, like, that you could probably have on the show, and it's really nice to learn more and go deeper, and it's not surface level, like hearing y'all talk about Jeff Hardy and the stuff with Sting and how the match didn't go, like, that's interesting as fuck to me, man. And I really appreciate coming on and just being able to learn shit like that and learn more about wrestling because I'm trying to get back into it.
Well, hey, my podcast or my Discord, every pay-per-view, so long as I'm home, I'll be hosting in my Discord. Just go to Grumm.tv and you can watch along. Max, you joined us for day one, a little bit of it. It was good to have you. It's always good to see friendly faces.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But thank you guys for coming on the Dork side of the ring. We did it. It is great. I can't wait to have you guys on again. You guys will be on again. I don't think I've had a guest yet that I would not have on again, which is good because we're about 6 months into this, and that's a lot of guests. That's at least 52 guests.
Wow.
Not a single repeat yet, so.
Also, shout out to the supporters. Shout out to the Grumm Cord. Appreciate you guys. You guys listening, chiming in. It's good community you got there.
Yeah, the Grumm unity.
Yeah. I love that. Shout out you guys.
Look at y'all getting the shout out. That's all. I mean, that's a reflection of me. Sure, I'll take some credit for it, but it's they're great people. I love them just as I love you two. Thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate it.
Love you too, Grumm.
See you down the road.
I'll see you on down the line.
That's what you like from an outgoing message from your guests, shouting out the community, and encouraging more and continued support. So you love to see that. Thanks again, BigWheezy and Maxironi and Wheezy XL. Good to see you. It's it's just Big Wheezy. Yes, sir. That's how you talk to your son. So that's I should have done that. I should have been, hey, Big Wheezy, and then just gone into this part where I said that's how you talk to your son. But no, that didn't work. That's a reference for the CPFs, and that's good. If you got that reference, I love you. I love everybody. But thank you again, Maxironi and Big Wheezy. Check out Dopeflix on your preferred app or preferred podcasting platform. That's DOPEFLIX, like Netflix, but dope. That's right. Thank you guys again for coming on. Thank you, listener, for listening. Next week, we've got, what is that, the 6th? The 6th of February. No, the 7th of February. 7th of February. We've got, next week's episode is the Final Deletion. Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy in Final Deletion match. We've got some more CPFs. We've got Midman and Pudge on to talk about that. It's a fun one. My God, we found out that Matt Hardy and his wife Rebby have have some electric names for their children. So we get to find that out. Save yourself. Don't Google it. Don't go Googling it because nothing will top Midman's reaction of finding out these names. So thank you once again for following us here, listening. Thank you, Max and Wheezy for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at DorksideRing. Thank you for following me on Twitter and Instagram at IamGrumm. If you haven't already, join our community. Grumm.tv will take you right to the Discord where everything is, from Dorkside to YouTube to just general community stuff, live content. Also, if you're listening to this, February 2nd is going to be our first live stream in the Discord since getting off of Twitch. It'll be a hybrid first stream celebration, birthday celebration in the Discord. So come through. It's going to be a fun time. Also, support.grumm.tv. Patreon stuff. We got a lot of content there. More content than you can shake a stick at, apparently. I don't know what that means. I don't know, but it sounds good. More content than you can consume in a month. I guess you could listen to it in a month. But there's a lot of content there. A lot of good content there. And more to come. We're just getting started here at Grumm TV and Grumm Content Factorium. I don't know. I'll come up with a name for it later. But yeah, look, we're working on stuff. And that's it. Thank you guys. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you for stepping into the dork side of the ring and for a brief moment, if that, for not taking wrestling too seriously, because wrestling is a whole lot more fun when no one is taking it serious. I am Grumm, and I am thanking you for listening once more here. And I'll see you next week here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast.